Now we're in March of 2009. The Great and Lovely Descent. Oh, look, a little house.
Let's talk about video game development for a second. Every video game runs on what's called an engine, which determines what the game can and cannot do. So in other words, the engine is a set of tools for game development. To make all of these games, Coda is using an engine called Source. Like all engines, Source has certain things that it does well, and it has certain things that it does poorly.
The streetwise fool.
One of the things that it does very well is boxy linear corridors. That's why so many of Coda's games are set in these large, flat, empty rooms, is just because he's working with what the engine does well.
In case you don't remember, Source is the name of the engine that Valve has developed most of their games on. Man, I remember the Source filmmaker days, bro. Those were the fucking days. This is also relevant because Davey Wreden's game, his most famous game, The Stanley Parable, was also made in Source. It was originally a Source mod that became its own game in the Source engine a couple years down the line. Years down the line. So it is worth noting that Source is an engine that Davey himself is quite familiar with. It's a game. It's an engine that he himself made one of his most famous games inside of.
The tools available to the creator shape what kinds of creative work they're going to end up making. You might consider paying attention to the architecture in Coda's games to notice how they seem to stem from an engine that's very good at producing linear, boxy corridors.
Yes. This little boxy bathroom. If I found out that Davey Reed was working on Duke Nukem Forever, that would genuinely like. I get chuckle out of that. I get a real chuckle out of that. That would be funny as hell. I agree with you. Oh look. Why was that in the bar? Why would that be in like? Why would the little seaside fool bar have this like really fascinating abstract location underneath it? What does this mean? I wonder. What could Coda be trying to say with this? Also, I cannot jump, so I will just have to... No fall damage. Good to know. Thank you, Coda. Get this little exterior here. Man, I also miss Half-Life. Now that you say that out loud. That was a good fucking game. Also, this was at the bottom the entire time. I guess we could just fall and it wouldn't have mattered. There was no reason to worry. Now what's below? The below of the bar. Of the Seaside Fool. This really does feel like the Assassin's Creed Revelations at Desmond levels. Those levels were shit, but at least we're having some fun time talking about this. At least there's some stuff here, as opposed to just like a bunch of nothing that's not worth talking about. It's like a fucking like a dairy farm almost. Like this is where you put the cows. Or like maybe even a horse stable. Oh. Or maybe this is my cage. Or an elevator. Am I like the metaphorical horse or the metaphorical cow here? Don't you fucking dare talk to me about Order 1886. That game was the blandest fucking thing I've ever played in my life. That was like just drinking fucking distilled water is what that game was. No flavor whatsoever. No sauce. Oh.
This prison, funny enough, in Coda's original design, the doors stayed shut for a full hour before letting you go. If you don't mind, I think we're gonna skip that.
You know what? Davey, for you this one time, for my streaming audience this time, I will obey. I will join you on this journey and skip.
This is something that he and I used to argue about a lot. You know, whether a game ought to actually be playable. Whether
argue is an interesting way of phrasing that. He used to argue with Coda a lot.
It means anything if no one can get through it. And I would always defend that, you know, all this work goes into the game, why not make it playable and accessible? And so we just got into heated arguments over it, and there was one time that after one of these conversations, he went home, and a day or two later, he sent me a zip file entitled Playable Games that was full of hundreds of individual games, each of which was just an empty box that you walked around in and nothing else. Believe me, I played every single one of those just to find out if there was like a gag hidden somewhere. There wasn't.
So there's some tension between Davey and Coda. Some tension there from how they believe in game design. God, standard EA, another one of those, like, you know, this it's funny because this is like from an era where EA was still like hated, but not hated to the extent that they are today. Like, this was Mirror's Edge era EA. That was the hot shit. Dead Space era EA. You know, I missed that version of EA to some degree. Okay. So we've spent an hour in prison.
It's the puzzle again, with the exact same solution as the last time.
Well, thank you, I guess.
There's still no clear indication of what makes this puzzle so special that Coda is going to return to it over and over. But I promise I'll share with you my interpretation very shortly.
Your interpretation, huh? Davey's interpretation. What, I don't fucking care. What about my interpretation, Davey, huh? Or maybe there's no interpretation. Maybe he just fucking likes the puzzle. Maybe the puzzle's fun. Maybe he enjoys that little puzzle. You there? Did you come from up above? What was up there?
A kind of dialogue system that he fashioned out of the engine's chat capabilities. Use the buttons on your gamepad to respond.
Also, yeah, like that's interesting. The idea of like having to look back, to go forward, and like in the game where you had to literally walk backwards. Interesting thought about that. That hadn't occurred to me actually. We've been to the world above. We'll tell him we solved the puzzle. Now tell us how you solve it. Tell us the solution. Tell us how to get to the other side. They need to get there. They need to solve the puzzle. We have to escape this prison. We have to see the ending. Or we just walk away. What happens if I solve it? You'll find here won't be worth what you takes to get there. You'll have another chance to solve it soon. The puzzle, huh? The puzzle is an important part of this game from the looks of it.
And so we make one last descent down to the final floor of the level.
This is some trippy ass music, by the way, in the background. This little like synth wave kind of thing. It's like a fucking prison courtyard. Or like a school courtyard.
It's a lamppost. Okay, I can't tell you quite why, but for some reason, Coda fixates on this lamppost. It's going to appear at the end of every single one of his games from here on out. I'll tell you what I think. I think that up to this point, you know, he's been making really strange and abstract games with no clear purpose, and maybe you can only float around in that headspace for so long. Because now he wants something to hold on to. He wants a reference point. He wants the work to be leading to something. He wants a destination, which is what this lamppost is. It's a destination. We're going to see it in the work as well. His games are just going to become a lot.
Or maybe it's the light of truth. How do you know that this is your interpretation, Davey? How do you know this shit? Maybe it's the light of truth. Maybe it's like the illuminating the darkness at the end of the tunnel. By the end of the tunnel, like proverbially. Maybe it could be any number of things.
A lot more cohesive, a lot more fully developed, with more of a clear idea behind them. And as we go, that idea will get clearer and clearer and clearer.
What? Why would you not trust the guy who made the Stanley Parable, Jacob? Why would you not trust this beautiful man? This is Davey Reed talking about April 2009. The game is connected to the internet. As you walk around, you can leave notes. Like Dark Souls? Like Dark Souls notes. Nice room. Not.
So first off, I'm sure you can deduce this, but this game is not connected to the internet. All of the notes that you're gonna see have been written by Coda. This was actually the first game of his that I ever played. This was shortly after I met him at a weekend game jam in Sacramento, where I grew up. I saw him working on this very level, and it was just so different from anything that anyone else was doing. So right away I was like, I have to be friends with this person. In retrospect, I think I was probably a bit too pushy, trying to get his attention. I was over-enthusiastic. But he was very gracious about it and very patient with me. And I cooled off eventually.
I will like save you some heartache, Jacob. At no point in this game are there any jump scares. This is not that kind of game. This is a more meditative experience than is a horror. There is no horror to be found here. This is a meditative experience. So I'll save you that heartache and just let that be a part of your reality from here on out. It is unsettling,
Feel
for
free
sure.
to skip over any of these notes if they're not doing anything for you. Nothing extra is going to happen if you read all of them. Either way, to me they convey a sense of loneliness. I see this person who's filled with thoughts and feelings and beliefs and has no way to express them except as scattered and unheard voices in a game that wasn't meant to be played.
I do understand why, like...
But it's ironic, isn't it? That in playing this game and seeing how alone Coda often felt, that we get to know him better and actually kind of connect with him. And I have to be honest with you, this idea is really seductive to me. That I could just play someone's game and see the voices in their head and get to know them better and have to do less of the messy in-person socializing. I could just get to know you through your work. I think this is why I always liked Coda's games so much, is because it felt like they let me have that connection. I felt as though he was inviting me personally into his world. And then I feel less lonely too.
And then I feel less lonely too. Says Davey. But, to kind of belay the thought, I do, like, there is an eerie atmosphere to this place. No bones about it. No doubt about it. But this is... There are no jump scares. The oppression is purely atmosphere. And I mean that sincerely. I am not trying to bullshit you. That's a fair question. If we're not supposed to read these chat bubbles, why do they turn from blue to white after we read them? Why would there be an indicator that this has been a red chat bubble, that we've already been here? Why would that exist? What has gone wrong? What would Coda be trying to... Maybe not say, but like why would he make that design choice? That is an interesting question. Doubly so since it looks like there are parts of this level that we're not supposed to even like be able to touch. So there's messages over there that we can't get to. We cannot get there. But there are messages there that we could theoretically read. It's like walking through like a... Oh, there's an invisible wall there. There's an invisible wall here. I literally cannot move any further. There's an invisible wall. I am pressing the left button, or moving left right now, and it just will not let me go. This is just a large chamber that we cannot fall in. And this could also be like an intrusive thoughts kind of thing, where these are like a deluge of loose ideas that you feel like you have to get touched, but you don't, like, maybe even though you know you don't really need to, like, you can just move on. Or maybe it's not like one person's thoughts, maybe it's like the idea of the crowd. Maybe it's like the white noise in the background, the thing that, like, continuously distracts you while you're trying to focus. Like, I could move forward, but I'm listening to Deborah talking to Jimmy on the other side of the room, and I want to hear what they're saying. I could just keep going, but, like, what if Jimmy and Deborah are saying something that I might be interested in hearing?
At the end of this level, we're going to see the puzzle again. And here, I'll tell you what I think the puzzle means. Each of these games represents an idea that was on Coda's mind at the time that he was making it. And the puzzle is a way of closing the door on a previous chapter of his life before moving on to the next one.
Oh, there's also whispering in the background I'm hearing. Like
In each of his games, after exploring a theme that, he might find difficult, Coda can then place this puzzle that he knows has a reliable solution, he understands exactly how it works, and so it gives him a simple mechanism for moving on.
I will say, like, the Source engine is a deceptively powerful tool. Like,
and because there's this dark area between the doors, a space between the spaces, before you move on, you get to pause. Just for a moment, a few seconds to reflect on and let go of the events that led you here. To step back and connect the pieces together. To grasp at that elusive bigger picture.
Listen, there are voices in the background. They're still whispering to us. Like, what's that fucking, what is the name of that illness that Senua has in Senua Sacrifice? Trying to think about what it's called. It's like the idea of, like, there's people, like, there's like audio sensations that that your ears perceive even though they don't exist. Is that schizophrenia? No, I don't think so. Let me Google this. Psychosis. That was it. This could be like a psychosis kind of thing. How do you leave notes? Typewriters. Like a fucking Alan Wake level. May to June. Porn stars die too.
It's gonna kind of just spin its own wheels for a few minutes. Hang with it.
Yeah, like there are a number of things that could represent, and you are correct in like pointing out that like it is genuinely impressive that Coda managed to get this much out of the Source engine. Oh, what's this? I love this like non-Euclidean geometry, a thing that only like games can do. Like this is not a thing you could do in any other form of like other medium. This use of non-Euclidean space.
Like this is it, the whole game, and there's nothing that's particularly interesting about it. You just walk to the end of a hallway. Except for some reason, Coda gets really fixated on this prison that has all of this modern furniture. And I don't know why, but he decides he needs to revisit this prison. He's gonna start over, use the same assets, turn it into something else. Okay, cool. Here's version 2.
Oh look, the furniture is all gone. How about a refrigerator? Or that works too. Horse picture. Or a chair, that also works. Let's put live Tesla coils in there, yeah. Tables were invented in 1935.
There's a bit more to this one, but still it's not really communicating anything. It's kind of just weird for weirdness' sake.
Does it communicate nothing? Is it just weird for weirdness' sake, or is there something here that I'm not seeing?
So, okay, he throws it out and starts over. This time he comes at the prison idea from a different direction.
Related, but in art therapy, its interpretation. Straight lines suggest direct patterns and clear thinking, with swirls, circles, and non-Euclidean brushstrokes with mental processing and depression. Okay. I didn't know that, actually. That's interesting. Please walk forward. Able to escape any prison. Click on this table. Go over to the photo frame and click to turn it slightly. Turn the floor lamp in this room off and turn it back on. That side sofa, move it over a little bit. Okay. Touch the shelves. Okay, so that's how we escaped prison. That's good to know.
And of course, now the table is gone and you can't begin the chain of events to escape. Here's a version where there are no bars, but you can't actually get to the well. And then a version where the inside of the prison is the outside and the outside is the inside. Let me just blink you real quick through a few more of these. I mean, he really unloaded on this prison idea. There's nearly a dozen of them. Personally, I think it's awful to watch this. To see a person basically unraveling through their work. And for what? Like, at what point do you just go, maybe there are game ideas other than this prison that I could be working on? But Coda doesn't have that voice telling you to stop. That particular mechanism of defense against yourself. Without it, you just spiral. And so he keeps going and going and going and going and going. And then he hits on something. And he likes it. And that's it. He's done. He stops making prisons. This is the very last version of the prison game that he created. And the reason I think it works is that the prison is not actually in it.
Maybe it doesn't work. Maybe I don't think it works. Yeah, like you also noticed that Davey didn't give us a chance to really take in what was happening there. We got swept up real quick from one prison level to another. Not really getting a chance to understand or appreciate what was happening to us or in those levels. They might, yeah, exactly. They might as well just have been static images, like a fucking PowerPoint almost. Hello? Who is this? It's me, I'm you from after you escaped the prison. You're me? You're trapped in this prison too?
It's a conversation.
I was in the escape tutorial.
This is what Coda wants, is to be able to talk to someone, to share what's on his mind, and to get some good advice from someone who knows. But the irony is that even in this scenario, you're still talking to yourself. You know, all of these games so far are Coda talking to himself.
Press X to doubt indeed. I did get a call. That's how I escaped. You guys tell me how I felt about being imprisoned. Fred, for nothing will ever change. Go on.
I can see why he considers this a fitting conclusion to the prison games. After all of the obsession and frustration, just to be told by someone you can trust that things are going to be okay. Wouldn't that...
Also keep in mind that these are all separate games. So we're assuming there's a connection there. There might not even be. For all we know, there's just different prototypes for maybe there's no link between all these disparate prison games. Maybe they're just individual experiences.
Be nice.
But maybe it would also be nice
So
to have someone tell you it's okay.
Coda wanted to make a game about talking to someone other than himself.